So why is public education failing children? And it is. You see the statistics. 1 million new kids enroll in school every year. And by the time you get through the sausage machine of the schooling system, about 500,000 kids are sitting down and writing matric every year, which means the dropout rate is at 50%. At least that's what my maths taught me way back when. And even those kids, when they're getting through the schooling system, are not doing particularly well in the so-called STEM subjects, the science, technology, the mathematics that is required in an economy like South Africa, which is struggling. So if we're not feeding the economy with bright young people, what future do we have really? And as a proportion of the South Africa's revenues, we spend, 22, 23% of the South Africans' budget on education. And it's failing, and it keeps failing. Why does it keep failing?
Bruce, I think there's a lot in terms of why the education system's not really giving our children what they deserve. And I would say not just the government schools, but all schools in terms of really ensuring that our children are able to compete at an international level. And I'd even go back to start in terms of our curriculum. We don't expect much from our kids. We always, we're decreasing the pass rate. We're feeling like we're making excuses for why children are not achieving, and we're not holding them to high expectations, and we should be doing that because they can do it. We see it at Spark. We also, I think, overall have a very low respect or esteem for education. You're seeing that it's the easiest degree to get into when you want to get into university. If you can't get into other degrees, universities will advise you, oh, just become a teacher. That's unacceptable. We need to up the bar across the board, that you're attracting really the top talent into the universities, making sure that the teachers are then prepared for the classroom, they've got strong content knowledge, and then that they are ready to support the scholars within their space.
How do you get great teachers? Because we see Curo, for example, it's gone through and sort of training its own teachers, but a whole teacher training facility. How do you identify who's good, who's not, who's going to fit into a different kind of education system, a far gentler, more inclusive system than perhaps we grew up with?
So, Bruce, we recruit on certain characteristics, what we call our gems. So it's around people that can demonstrate grit, excellence, mission alignment, and self-reflection. And then we spend about 245 hours a year training and developing our staff, which is equivalent to a decade in a traditional system. So unfortunately, teachers aren't being prepared for the classroom in terms of content knowledge, behavior management, and so we really need to close that gap. And so it's been completely incorporated in terms of the way we run our schools, from pre-service PD to professional development on Mondays, to all our school leaders really focusing on instructional leadership, and we try and minimize the administrative burden that they have.
Is there any cross-pollination between you and the public sector saying, guys, we're doing this, please come and have a look and see what we're doing, so that this idea can be replicated elsewhere? You don't have to spend any more money than you're spending at the moment. You can just do it differently and therefore better.
Bruce, I think we should be doing more of it. There's a lot more of informal conversations with school leaders, with surrounding schools in their area to support them around professional development, or any visits, any lessons or best practices that we can share. But absolutely, we need to be engaging more with government about and showcasing what we can do at this price point with South African teachers, with South African kids, and look what's possible.
One gets the sense that many head teachers of schools are quite lonely people. They don't get support from above. They have a huge pressure from beneath. And that's why somebody like a Louise van Rijn, who I'm sure you know, who gets executives from the private sector just to go and mentor and coach, and to get a beneficial co-learning happening between executives and schools, and executives learn about schools and what's going wrong there, and headmasters or head teachers learn what's going on in the real world.
Exactly, and it's great to have that peer network. I mean, even within Spark, within the network, we have different regions, and so they get together and they support one another. We have regional managers that really focus on coaching and supporting our leaders around their leadership development journeys. It's essential. If we want to continue to better serve our kids, we need to make sure that our teachers, our school leaders are constantly growing themselves. And so we've built that into the structure and the way we operate.
Those first investors that you went to 6, 7, 8 years ago, who said to you, yeah, come back later, have they come back to you and said, I think we may have missed a trick? Have they been big enough to admit that perhaps they may have been wrong?
So people have been very complimentary in terms of our growth and what we have achieved to date. Some of them keep knocking, but we we're now in a fortunate position that we've got a really strong investor base, and we just need to make sure that we continue growing our network.
And those investors still private individuals, or have you seen companies start? Have you had the Curos and the likes coming sniffing around and saying, just grow a little bit more and we're going to come and buy you? Are you up for sale?
We are not up for sale, Bruce, at all. We've got a few international funds that have invested in us, and more recently, which was really exciting, the Women's Development Bank invest in us, which is our first local fund. And so we really hope to build that partnership even.
What's the goal? What's the ambition? What do we look at Spark Schools 10 years from now?
So the next goal is to be operating and opening 28 schools over a 5-year period starting from 2021.
And are those going to be purely South African, or do you see this as a model that can be exported elsewhere?
So our focus will still be South Africa.
The need is so huge.
It's so huge. I mean, we have open door policy, so we've had people from Brazil, from India come and spend time with us because they want to replicate a similar type model back home for them. We've got no plans to cross borders anytime soon. The need is just huge in South Africa, and that is our priority. But we are looking at really how do we codify our model that can then be translated into different countries.
I mean, I look around this room and there's just hope and opportunity and promise and excitement and enthusiasm and a joy for learning. 12 years from now, these kids go to the job market, whatever that job market looks like. I mean, maybe they just have to switch the computer switch on and then go home again by then. But what are your hopes for them?
So my hopes for them, so let me just go one step back, is that everyone says, what do you want to be when you become older, like a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer? But for me, the conversation should be, what problem do you want to solve? So my hope for them is that they are in a position that they can choose whatever their life wants to be and whatever direction they want to go, but that they are socially aware of the problems happening in South Africa, globally, and that they feel that it's their responsibility also to make that change.
That global focus is so interesting because so much of what we do in South Africa, so much of our curriculum is so inward focused and inward obsessed rather than being expansive and opportunity seeking.
Yeah, we have to. We've got to. We're playing on the global field. It's becoming more and more competitive. I know we think the world's closing in, but I also think that we need to make sure our scholars here have a choice. If they want to go work in the US for a bit or the UK or here, wherever they want, that they will be able to hold themselves appropriately on that platform.
The amazing story of Spark Schools. Stacey Brewer, thank you very much. And that is it from Taking Stock for today. We've been taking stock in New Doornfontein. The kids have been remarkable. I don't know what kind of big sticks they keep around the corners, or is it a carrot, or is it just the joy of learning? Perhaps it's the latter. That is it from Taking Stock. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.